Oh, come on! I don't know how many times I've said this already, but there were a lot of really great games released this year. Somehow Death's Door escaped my attention as it was released over this past summer on the PC and Xbox, and none on the other consoles this November. I gave it a download, and I want to say right away that if you really like Zelda games, then this is absolutely a must-buy. Death's Door was published by Devolver Digital and developed by Acid Nerve, which is made up of only two people, Mark Foster and David Fenn. For two guys to make something this good is really impressive, especially considering how many larger developers are out there that have dozens or hundreds of people working on their games, and they're still making crap. I'm admittedly a little bit biased towards Devolver anyways, because outside of Hotline Miami 2, I don't think I've played a single game they've published that I didn't actually like. Now before we get started, if you like what you see, I ask that you give it a like and subscribe to the channel to get notified of upcoming content. You play a crow. More specifically, an immortal reaper, whose job is to collect souls for the Reaping Commission. Think of it as a processing center for souls in the afterlife. The Commission's headquarters looks a lot like a government office with desks and stacks of papers and filing cabinets. Probably some asshole middle manager who sees you eating lunch and decides to be a comedian and says something awful like, "Looks good, can I have a bite?" And you want to push him out the window like the actual comedian in the Watchmen movie. Also doors. Tons of doors. Your assignment at the beginning of the game is to reap a huge soul. Basically, the rules of the world in this game is that if someone isn't willing to die and they basically live too long, then they start to take on demonic properties and become, I guess, more of a monster version of themselves. That's the easiest way to explain it. Think of it as the difference between those eggs you forgot about in your fridge that were way past their expiration date. So, as you find this monster and defeat it, this larger, much older crow shows up out of nowhere, takes the soul from you, and says that something's causing the disappearances of other reapers. The answer lies behind Death's Door. However, to open it, you need to bag 3 large souls that'll open it. You might wonder why this is even that big of a deal, but another rule of this world that I want to mention is that until a reaper's assignment is completed, they're mortal and can not only be killed, but they'll age. So in the process of doing your job, you're also saving your own feathery little butt. So the 3 large souls are each in a different part of the world, and as you can guess, they're all differently themed. The graphics in the game are gorgeous, and there's a lot of detail and charm in each world that you'll visit. The headquarters itself serves as a hub where you can travel through doors to get to different parts of the game once you unlock them from the other side. There are subtle touches throughout, like seeing the reflection in the floors of the mansion, or the way the snow will gradually show up when traveling to a snowy part of the game. And a lot of times, these are things that will factor into the puzzles that the game will need you to solve as well. If you like exploration in your games, then you'll find a lot here, with lots of collectibles to find along with shards that'll permanently upgrade your health and magic meters. As someone who hates solving puzzles, I actually like them in this. They're nothing more than light brain teasers that break up the action, and those are my favorite kinds. There's nothing obtuse to solve here. You'll dodge lasers to hit switches or break pots in a specific order to open a passageway, easy things like that. There's also environmental puzzles like lighting torches, bombing walls, or using a hookshot to get around obstacles. Each dungeon has a large door with a crow's face on it. To open the door, you'll need to free 4 Reaper souls that are stuck in there. The game doesn't give them up without a fight though, and once you find them, you'll have to fight several waves of enemies to get to them. Do that for all the souls and the door opens, giving you access to a treasure chest that has a spell in it that you'll need to get to the boss. The combat in this is a lot of fun, and while it's not that deep, it controls really well and I never got bored with it. You start with a sword and a bow and arrow spell, and you'll find others throughout the game, totaling 5 melee weapons and 4 spells. Unfortunately, you can't switch your weapons on the fly, so you'll actually have to pause the game to switch them out. Also, I found the differences are really subtle enough between them all that you can just use what you like and you won't be at any major disadvantage, save for this umbrella that you pick up early on that's only meant to make the game harder. Thankfully, you can switch spells on the fly, and collecting enough souls means that you can spend them at the Reaping Commission headquarters to up your stats however you like. Dying in this doesn't carry a penalty except for setting you back to a previous checkpoint or having to restart a fight, depending on where you're at. At first, I rolled my eyes when I saw that I was collecting souls, since everything that calls its currency souls tends to punish you with having to pick up those souls after you die, and I was happy that this time I didn't have to do that in Death's Door. Not because it's too hard to do that, it's just more because I'm sick of every game I play having that mechanic. The music is really pretty but mostly ignorable, with lots of soft piano tracks and the occasional upbeat song to keep you invested in the combat. None of the characters in this have a voice either, but the writing is excellent and the dialogue often has a dry humor to it. As you pick up logs from past Reapers, talk to other characters, and pick up collectibles called shinies, you learn more about the world and get more and more information on what happened, and without spoiling anything, I thought the story was really solid and has a ton of charm to it. Something in particular that I really liked about the story and characters, still not spoiling anything, is that there's a backstory to each boss that you're hunting down. As you venture through each dungeon, you're going to learn more about them as I mentioned, but in a nice twist, you'll find out their motivations for wanting to stay alive. You're most likely going to think about whether you'd even kill them or not if you were actually given a choice in this. But you don't have a choice. You're a Reaper and you have a job to do, so you're going to have to take them out in order to proceed. In a really touching and thought-provoking moment, after you kill each boss, you instead the Gravedigger will actually hold a funeral for them. So my only complaints about this game really are just that I wanted more of a difference between the weapons that I used, and a map would have really made this game a little easier to navigate. The weapons are fun to use, but nothing really felt that different from each other, which, like I mentioned earlier, it means that you can use whatever you want, but at least to me that also felt a little boring. As far as my want for a map goes, it's really easy to get turned around when you're trying to navigate the game world, or when you're in a dungeon you might miss an exit to a room you've never been to. Maybe my sense of direction isn't that great, but I got lost a lot in this. Other than those very minor complaints, Death's Door is a really solid game that I couldn't put down once I started, and it's one of my favorite games of 2021. This is the full package with great graphics, fun combat, and exploration, and Zelda fans will be really happy with this game, and it's totally worth a purchase at full price. And that's all I've got for today, but I appreciate you watching, and we'll do this again soon. Congratulations! You're one of an elite few to make it to the end of the video. Reward yourself by hitting the round subscribe button in the middle, and then check out the other goodies I've got in the links next to it.